Hello.
Welcome
How's it
to
going?
the
Welcome
weekly
to another
stand-up.
episode of the weekly stand-up.
Stand up. Stand up for your rights, even though they're gonna get taken away anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
even Jess, nice background, by the way. That's
Thank you.
uh that's brilliant. Are you live right now? Are you live outside of the Supreme Court?
I am live outside of the Supreme Court. This is fine.gif. And
No, we discussed this, Jessica. We discussed that, Molotov cocktails, firebombing was not the answer. Joe Biden went on stage and he said no violence. And you
okay,
promised, Jess, you promised you weren't gonna Molotov cocktail the Supreme Court. We talked about this.
listen, sometimes people fuck around and they are inclined to find out. And I think that's what's happening collectively. Um, They did it to themselves, to be quite honest. Also, can I just say, like, how come Biden is like, yeah, violence isn't the answer, but our last president was literally like two insurrectionists trying to dethrone democracy and like literally hostile take over the entire country. He was like, "We love you. You're very special." Um, Talk about participation trophy.
Look, Jess,
Also,
there's good people on both sides, right? Jokes on
no,
jokes on jokes on jokes.
I refuse to be a
Jokes.
centrist, and I will
Same.
get into why when we talk about Mark Merrill and games and
Yeah.
everything going on there. But yeah, a lot happened this week. A lot happened. Like, I feel like this week has been a year long already. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
we had a year-long election last November, and then the insurrection happened, and since then we're in this weird, like, liminal hell. That's the only way I can describe it. Because like face value, the attempted coup didn't happen, but like with all these laws and things being introduced and people getting their rights taken away and like crazy police reactions to like protests and stuff like that. It's like the coup is still happening. It's still going on. So with that, hi, hope you're having a great day. Enjoy this show. It's going to be a spicy show. We're going to be talking
Yeah.
about current events, which aren't great. Everything's kind of on fire, and we're going to have probably a really long, hard, nuanced discussion about everything. So just stick with us and let us know your thoughts too. Like, I'm genuinely curious what everyone's reaction is to the news. It's kind of like weird, right? Because we got a heads up. Democrats got a heads up and they used it to fundraise. It's like, hi, I sent you all this money. I voted blue and my rights
Mm.
are still gone. Please help. Please
I know.
advise.
Oh my God. Nancy Pelosi wasted no time in sending out the please donate emails after this. Like
Yeah.
like it was clearly like
Wait.
pre-written and queued up.
Nancy Pelosi, wife to the world's greatest stock trader, needs money?
Oh
I
my
know, I know,
Crazy,
I
God.
know.
dudes.
But we're gonna dive into all of that later. We've got I mean, usually Jess is the part where I ask how your week was and we ease into it, but I don't think there's any need
Sorry.
for that. I think we
My
know
week
how.
my week was hard because I think about this stuff all the time, obviously, as like someone who's an activist slash, American citizen. It's kind of like I'm forced now.
Mhm.
I don't have the luxury to pretend or play centrist or say both sides suck, so I'm just not going to pay attention to politics. I think you're doing a huge disservice to yourself and your country if you do that. So we'll talk about why that's horrible soon. And other than that, like my week has been okay. I've kind of been surviving. I'm post COVID, so that's good. My body is like regenerating. That way, I can dethrone the government in Minecraft.
In
Um,
Minecraft. I mean, we can dethrone
Wait.
them in real
I
life
need y'all to
too.
know the government, the courts know what that means now, so we can't actually use that anymore.
In golf,
oh,
in golf, we're doing
No.
it in
Like
golf.
they just know. They know, and it's been legally tried now that that's not a defense.
great.
So just
Is
a
that
heads
Never
is
up.
that is
mind.
that real?
Yeah,
Like in
yeah,
my
I
yeah.
Wait,
actually don't have the resources or even strength to do anything like that right now. But I mean, that is
I
just
just
a
want y'all to know.
metaphor for
Just want to make
how
sure.
frustrated I am at just everyone in power. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
It's been a tough week. For everyone just joining us for the first time, this is the weekly stand-up. We are a showcast, a podcast dedicated to worker rights and advocating for collective action within the games industry, and sometimes not in the games industry. But ultimately, we exist in both worlds, so we're going to talk about both worlds. My name is Josh Miller. I'm joined by
Tech Jess, that's me, Jessica Gonzalez, Tech Jess on Twitter. Yeah, we really got together because, there was huge sparks and labor movements happening in the games industry, and also like in tandem, a lot of other industries, and then industries that are already unionized are also striking at the same time. So it's really huge pivotal moment for labor movements, and I think we're starting to see the top percent panic from those movements. And I think that's partially why we're seeing all of this horrible political climate that we're in right now, because I think the rich are just panicking because they don't have people to pack into their slave factories anymore. And that's just genuinely what I believe. But hi, welcome to the show.
Yep.
Try and enjoy yourself. Like we joke and we have fun on the show too, so it's not just like super serious. It's just, unfortunately, this week we have a lot of serious topics to talk about. So let's just
this one might be a hard
dive
one
in.
to stay
But
high energy about.
yeah,
Even before the Supreme Court news came out, I just stuff going on at work directly ties into like the theme of the show that I've been dealing with, and it's like
ooh,
it's just I'm exhausted. I'm tired. But we're gonna try to give you guys a good show and talk about some stuff that matters. I figured before we dive into the meat of the topic, which you can look at Jessica's background. We're gonna be talking about the Supreme Court case and how it relates to the video game industry. But before
yes.
we dive into that, there's Jess. You made a little tweet, and
Oh,
I
I make too many tweets. I can be
that's
used so
true.
many times to intro any tweet of mine.
I feel like 90% of our episodes, it's Jess, you made a tweet.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm all for this, Jess. I think you should apply for the director of labor relations.
I think I would get immediately. I think I'm like on a block list or something. Like I think it filters for my name or something. But that would be hilarious though. Like I genuinely want to apply because I think I would be the perfect person to be a labor relations like director. I just don't think I'm the type of person they want. I think what they want is someone to, like, a middle manager that's going to talk between the union
Hmm.
and the workers and the boss, and the boss is just going to say, this is what you have to do, make this happen, and then so that's the bad guy. Like I think they're just hiring a bad guy, um because like they recently promoted someone who argued against Raven in the NLRB to like HR, like senior level. So they obviously want goons in that position. And I'm going to apply because I think it would be really funny to like, hey, look who wants to apply. So I'm going to do
We
that.
live
And
stream your application.
I'm going to write a sick cover letter. Like they're going to be forced to read it. It's going to start with my resignation. It's going to be great.
It's gonna start with my resignation. What's the cruel irony is that you are the perfect person for the labor uh
On
director,
the
like the
union
director of
side.
labor relations for the labor.
Yeah.
But
Pro
obviously
labor.
companies are
Yeah.
never looking for that. They're looking for a middle person and
They want a
advocate for the
goon.
company. Yeah.
They want someone to bark orders at that's just going to say, I'm doing my job. And that's what Francis Townsend did. That's what Brian Billotta did. They're all strategic hires. And so I think this position is going to be another strategic hire to exhaust all labor efforts. But it's funny because, I mean, Microsoft soon. So I wonder if they're kind of in cahoots. Maybe Microsoft is like, yeah, get us a labor relations director. Who
It's
knows?
either that or they're trying to like just kick this can down the road as much as possible until it's Microsoft's problem. Because
That part.
again, like Microsoft has already agreed to a neutrality agreement with the
Yeah.
CWA. So is this just Activision being
Posturing.
a yeah,
Yeah.
like just
It very
trying to
much
be a
could be. So I do know Raven is trying to negotiate with a bargaining committee. Like legally, Activision Blizzard has to have someone to bargain with the union, right? Like with the
yeah.
workers. So I think they are doing this because they either don't want to bargain yet and they want this as an excuse. Like we haven't hired a bargaining agent yet. Like we don't know. Or, yeah, honestly, I think that's what it is. I think they're just trying to like wait until, whatever. But I mean, in the meantime, we're still going to be pushing for bargaining stuff anyway. Um, I don't know. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna just keep the pressure on. And I think Microsoft is just continuously making Activision look super juvenile here. I think they look like they're throwing a tantrum and don't want a union, and they're getting one anyway, and they still won't do the right thing, but they're like acting like they're doing the right thing. So it's very weird. Hopefully some good comes out of it, but honestly, I just see this as a placeholder until the deal goes through, just so they can say, look, we're appointing someone. But that being said, and I don't know if we talked about this last week, but there was a vote to shareholders. They reelected Bobby Kotick on the board of directors, one for the rest of the year. And I know that's part of something we're going to talk about later, but I have
we can
to
talk
give
about
that.
it now. Let's bump it up.
Yeah, let's do that. So he's staying on the board. Surprise, surprise. Look at his stupid fucking face. I have to see in every goddamn article all the time. But yeah, so he's staying on the board. They voted to keep him on the board. Why? Probably because he lined their pockets and or he can extort them in some way. That's the only way. Like, he must have some serious dirt, like, or something. But anyway, that's just my speculation. But yeah, so he's staying on the board. Also, there was a vote to elect an employee to the board, which was only supported by 5% of shareholders. But that being said, it was the board of directors' suggestion to vote no. So if you're not informed, of course you're going to be like, okay, I'll go with the board of directors. Also, how can the board of directors vote for, against, or suggest who's going to be on the board of directors? Like, hello, that should be more democratic. I don't know. It's just super weird and corrupt.
At the end of the day, the board of directors, the majority of them are Bobby's buddies that were given the role. Yep.
So they voted ultimately not to appoint an employee to the board, which is sad, but like, hi, with a union, you're going to deal with it anyway. Sorry, you could have like taken the high road. But now you're just going to have a bunch of unions. So you reap what you sow.
Indeed,
That's
they
all
do.
I'm going to say about that. Get his face off my screen, Josh.
Yeah, Mike, get him out of here. Get him
No
out of here.
longer.
Get him out of here.
Wait, hold on. Can we
I
can't
say
believe
Josh like Josh has power.
Can't believe we had that guy on our show. Unbelievable. Remember that time we interviewed Bobby?
I try to forget that.
I try to forget every day. Man, that was probably the most fun episode I've ever done.
Yeah.
Remember when we left? Remember laughter? The sound of it, the feel of it.
I remember laughter that wasn't a cry for help. Yeah.
It was beautiful. That laughter that we once had. Speaking of laughter, GTA6 has been leaked.
I miss these segues, Josh. When Mike does it, he's too good.
He's too good at the segues. Yeah.
He's too good. I'm like,
I've been trying to teach him. I've been trying to teach him, Mike. All you got to do is say "speaking of," and then you just say the next topic, and it's like there's a talent to it. We can keep training. It's okay. Look, did Luke Skywalker become a Jedi Knight after one training session with Yoda? No, he had to balance some rocks and fall over and hang out in a swamp with a little lizard man for a while before he became a true Jedi Knight. And even then, he went off on his own before he became a true Jedi Knight. He went off to fight his father, to save his friends, but
continue. No, I was waiting for you to finish.
Wait, hold on. New Bobby just dropped. New Bobby just dropped. Hold on.
New Bobby just dropped. Oh my god.
I feel like we need like some music to go along with that. Like,
so the funny context about this kind of stuff is like Bobby has actually come out and said that it hurts his dating life because people will Google him and find like pictures of devil horns and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the part that's hurting his dating life, not the part where he looks like a toad.
No, because here's the thing is like he can hire a date, right? Like you have enough money, you can hire a date. But then you have to be a good person. So I think he like fails at that. So then he would rely on suppressing the Google search, right? Because it's like, all right, if she Googles me, she's going to know I'm this.
I once went on a date where right next to me, it was like a nicer restaurant. The couple next to me, it was very clearly a paid date because you had this like, just this, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to judge him. Maybe he was a nice man, but you just had this like much older white gentleman And then this like very much like much younger lady, and he like did the whole thing where he like would put his table across the put his hand across the table and rest it on her hand, and it was like it was very clear what was going on, and it was
Nice.
very clear that she was like kind of forcing her like smile and laughter every time he would make a joke. And I was like, this feels weird. This is interesting. But I'm sure Bobby is no stranger to such things.
Speaking of Bobbies, shout out to a good Bobby. Shallow Music subscribing tier 1 on Twitch.
Hey, thank you for the sub. Very appreciated.
Thank you for being a good Bobby. We appreciate all the good Bobbies out there.
One of the good ones. One of the good Bobbies.
But yeah, likewise, Sindoran also never played GTA 5, but GTA 4 was that slap back in the day.
Wait, you never played GTA 5?
I played 5.
I didn't.
I liked it.
The story is so good.
I've been told, and I love mechanically the idea of being able to like hop between 3 characters. Like mechanically, that is awesome. I just never, I don't know, like big games kind of intimidate me now because I'm like, oh, that's 50 hours right there, and I have one of those. I have 1 hour of the 50.
I think I know what our next big stream thing is. I think I know what's going down.
Are we playing GTA?
Let's go. I love 5 because it's so immersive. Like when you're playing on the PlayStation 4, the like cop lights like flicker blue and red when you're like being chased. And yeah, it's so cool. Like I always love it.
Maybe I'll play it at some point. It goes on sale all the time, or maybe I'll just wait for GTA 6. It's been leaked. Right. The locations so far are purported to be Cuba, Colombia, and Miami. So that's interesting, right? This would be the first game where there are locations outside of the United States that you could visit.
I think the pitch there is, hey, everything is already really bad in the United States. Let's try somewhere else for a little bit. Let's give people a break.
Cuba gets a lot of shit, right? But Cuba is like a beautiful country.
Yeah,
and the only reason it's shit is like honestly our fault. Throw it back to America like being one of the key reasons why there's so much shit in the world. But
I have no, like literally zero informed opinion on any of that. Just because like I am the type of piece of shit teenager that never paid attention to politics because it's not cool. And I'm definitely paying for it, and I'm kicking myself in the ass for like not voting sooner. And yeah. That's all I'm gonna say is like I wish I knew more about politics younger, but like I don't know.
I was the piece of shit that was informed younger, but then was too lazy to like, oh, my vote doesn't matter. I mean, in the state of New York, it kind of doesn't matter because of the electoral.
Bush v. Gore for that because right after they did the recount, nobody wanted to vote. Just like, what's the point if they're just gonna recount it and then elect another president or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, disenfranchised a lot of voters at the time, and also because of the electoral cannot talk today. Electoral college. If you live in a like a blue state, your vote doesn't really matter.
Suppressed.
Yeah, and really the only votes that matter are in like purple swing states, where Republicans are hard at work at trying to subvert election results. But anyway,
I got some whoa, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go
You're talking about voting. I can't help myself. I wasn't going to interject here. I was going to wait until it's my turn, but it's time. Mike, pull me up. I have some words. I have some words about voting. I'm so sorry. I just need to get some
No, please. Yell at me, please.
No, I'm not going to yell at you. It's all good. Oh, I have to turn on my camera. Like this? Did I do it? Did I do a good job?
Welcome.
Hey, I'm live. Okay, wait, hold on.
Speaking of disenfranchised, it's our disenfranchised ghost
also, before we
boys.
before we get too far away, Josh, you have to remember the Steam summer sale is going on, and GTA 5 is $15. So,
all right.
I've never actually played that. I meant to, and then I just never got around. Okay, so voting. If it makes you feel better, I kind of suck too. I'll let you know. I voted in every election nationally, but the key to voting is actually making sure your local and your state elections get voted on. I had this like sort of stupid belief up until 2016, where if you just vote for the presidential in the presidential elections and just make sure you got the right person there, everything will like kind of trickle down from that. That's not how that works. Like all policy, like every American citizen is actually under a completely different set of laws based on where they live geographically. It's insane. Like no two American citizen has like the same, like the laws that apply to me do not apply to you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's
at
always
all.
been like that.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
no,
if you
but
think
it's
about
crazy.
it, slave owners wrote the Constitution. They wrote like, "We the people are all created equal while owning slaves." So it's just like, you're like,
Well,
should we really be following this? It's kind of weird. It's kind of old. Maybe we should make a new one. Like, can we just like scrap it, start over? Maybe a
it's
bunch of like
interesting.
old white dudes that didn't have dental or like smelled like shit probably don't know what's best for the country.
What's
Um,
interesting is like that's sort of like the French model for democracy, right? Like every like 20 or 30 years, they're like, this constitution is invalid. And then they,
yeah.
they light it up and then they just go from there. No, so what's interesting is that the most effective way of like contributing to bringing about change like, on a grassroots level is making sure that your local elections are won by people that you prefer, because
Yes.
those local laws will then inform and determine how your state and national elections will just kind of go. Because we had incompetent people in, say, certain roles in the state of Virginia, the state of Virginia went in a very specific direction during their state election. And now the governor is going to try to create a new abortion ban bill because the Supreme Court did what it did. We'll talk about that later, though. But basically, I just want to emphasize vote in your local elections, vote in your state elections. I'm going to hit this turn off video button in 3 seconds, Mike. So you can.
I mean, if you can stick around if because I'm going to talk a little bit more about. I mean, while we're talking about Cuba, and how America has not been a positive entity in the world for the last probably 8 decades since the end of World War II, objectively, and stopping Nazi Germany was objectively a good thing.
Back. Go further back.
Further back. I mean,
we like 18, like just like 1890.
Back it up.
Back
it up.
But like,
yes.
Back it up.
The American genocide of Native Americans also like not great. But I think
funny how that runs into each other. Okay. Well,
the last positive thing that we did was bail out Europe in World War II. That was probably the last positive thing we've done on a worldwide scale, right? Like objectively. Like because everything into the Soviet era,
we made it to where Trump didn't get a second term. So
we did do that.
Cool. And it was also the most votes in U.S. history.
Half the country didn't want that. So did we really do it together?
I don't think we can point to any American policy in the last 20 years that was just like objectively like good per se.
Really great, yeah.
Like
I mean, we finally pulled out of Iraq, but
pulled out of Iraq
Afghanistan.
after we invaded.
Sorry, Afghanistan.
Right, yeah, no, but like here's the thing. We shouldn't have invaded. And then once we were there, we had to do nation building, right? We pulled out without doing the nation building part. So pulling out was a bad choice because we've now left a country with lots of people who are like kind of starting to come around to the American dream, not really experiencing it, but hoping for it. There's no dream. Like we left Afghanistan, not like South Korea, but like, well, Afghanistan, how it's always been left behind.
And to throw back to Cuba, during during the Red Scare, any country that wasn't immediately accepting like American exceptionalism and accepting our way of life, we absolutely sanctioned and blockaded and just ran them into poverty. Like Cuba is a perfect example. They sided with the Soviets, so we were like, okay, cool, all right. Then you do not get to access the world financial market. You do not get to import or export any of your goods. We ran that country into the ground. Like the reason that
we do it with all the different countries,
and it's not just Cuba. It's like all of the South American countries that sided with the Soviets. We just like part of the reason.
Not just the Soviets. It's like anyone where we had a geopolitical interest in subverting the government. We would.
No, this is real.
Yeah.
Like Iran, like 1953, Iran actually went from a monarchy to what would have been a people's like democracy. And like the British convinced us that, they're going to go Soviet. So we subverted the democracy that was forming and made sure the Shah was in charge. So that when the Iranian population was pissed 20 years later, we had the excuse to then start doing the sanctions and everything else. We can talk about the Iranian economy later, though. But the long story short, our foreign policy has been shit and very selfish for a very long time, and the military-industrial complex is an actual threat to our democracy. But even before that, like, so this is bad. But then prior to that, there's the banana republics thing, right? Where we would just like take over different island nations that were weak and steal their GDP and steal their land in order to boost our economy. That's how Hawaii became a state. We
We've
took over
always done
Haiti.
that.
We took over Haiti.
Yeah.
It wasn't even our, like, we had no like national interest in the island, specifically past stealing the GDP. So the French have been like exploiting the Haitian population for 100 years. They said, there's a tax for freeing yourselves from slavery. We are going to take your GDP, a third or 2/3 of their GDP every year for 100 years. And then when the Haitians refused to pay up to the French, we took over the island and said, well, now you're going to pay us. The Philippines, after the Spanish-American War. Let me think. Going back a little further. Oh, Boxer Rebellion. Yes, the Boxer Rebellion. We were one of 8 nations that got involved in kind of undermining the Chinese empire. And then also when the Russo-Japanese War happened, by the way, they fought to a stalemate. And we actually did some diplomacy to save the Russians from having to pay reparations to the Japanese, which then kind of led Japan to really hate us and get into World War II. Oh, and then before we started doing all that foreign policy stuff, back to the Native Americans thing, then we before that we were kind of doing the whole genocide thing. So
the TLDR is that most of our modern day enemies, enemy states, or just like poverty in the world can be linked directly to American imperialism.
Yep.
So
British imperialism.
And British and French imperialism.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, really, the British, I've got. Anyway,
it's so stupid because it's almost like Americans forgot why they're American.
No. Not to say that I'm like anti-America, right? Like I'm a proud American citizen or whatever else.
Like every actual patriot is pissed off right now. Every actual person who loves this country and like sees the potential in this country is actually upset and pissed off and like deservedly going on these long tangents. Anyone who's for anything that's happening right now is a white nationalist, Christian, evangelical lunatic who's trying to literally impose their views on all of society. They want to colonize. They want to implant their people, and maybe it's the only way they can get laid. Maybe they will have to force births. I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't know that, the domestic supply of infants is down. They need people to work their slave labor. People don't want to have kids anymore. It's too freaking expensive. And look at what the pandemic did. They sacrificed the entire poor. They had sacrificed all the disabled people just so they can keep the freaking economy running, and it's not even running still. So it's like, no one wants to have kids right now, and instead of fixing the problem, they want to force people to have children because they need slave labor, they need people in the foster care system, they need people in the military. By the way, the Pentagon came out and said that you can get an abortion if you're in the military. Awesome. So there's some incentive there to join the military, and the military preys on the poor, preys on people that, it's sad. It's sad. Like, awesome. You literally don't have a choice. Well, yes, it's awesome that like people still get the healthcare they deserve, right? But like, I shouldn't have to join the military and like commit to dying for a country that doesn't care about my rights unless I die for the country.
Agreed.
What it really is, like for me,
it's like be a country worth dying for, then I will die for the country. I'll fight in a civil war if I freaking have to. Like, the unions will rise again. The South isn't gonna rise. We'll kick their ass twice. That's fine. Like, I'm fine being in that war. I just don't want to like go overseas and pillage and steal oil, and I don't want to do all that.
Yeah, like some sort of torture scandal in Iraq, let's say like 1 year into the war or something. Can you imagine, by the way, being in an election cycle, right? Where you're being evaluated on your war in Iraq, and then the news drops that American soldiers have been torturing Iraqi civilians.
Oh yeah, I saw all of that.
And you still get reelected.
People in this country, most people in this country don't care about people that live outside of this country, just like period, full stop.
Here's another like thing we're probably going to talk about later when we talk about like all of the companies that spoke out for and or didn't say anything for the Roe v. Wade stuff, or like against, or the fallout from all of that. Activision Blizzard said nothing. The military said something. Activision Blizzard, nothing. And if you look at their like CEOs, their board of directors, public donations to like Republicans, people that want to take away rights, it's all there. Mark Merrill, CEO, I think, or co-founder of Riot, was donating to huge Republican campaigns. And then, there's a huge list, but Bobby Kotick specifically, Casey Wasserman, like all of them will literally throw all of this money into the right because they think anything to protect my money. Like, that's all they care about. They don't care if people lose their rights as long as the rich are not getting taxed. That's all they care about. That's all the GOP cares about, is not taxing rich people. Because all of these people are silver spoon children, like Mark Merrill, like Bobby Kotick. Like, they're all hedge fund kids who acquired wealth. And then so
they're all friends with each other. They all went to school with each other. They're all in the same social circles. They're all just trying to help out their buddies. These people have no love for anything aside from power.
That's no empathy.
And this is like the thing that really irritates me. Like, so when we went to this like long history about like all the ways that America is like fucked up over the last 200 years, but I'm still like proud to be American. Like, the thing that really comes down to is that the American promise, like, we have a very unique promise, and the American promise is being subverted every decade by reactionaries and the wealthy that exist in this country, working in tandem, holding hands to get their interests met while everyone else suffers. Like, that's the problem. Like, it has nothing to do with like looking at our shameful history and saying we're bad people, et cetera,
et cetera, et cetera. The Democrats just fundraise because they know, oh, money, I can get money right now. Hey, Roe v. Wade is up on the table. Vote, vote, vote. Pay for my campaign. It's the only way we're going to be able to fix it. We pay for them. We vote. This shit doesn't still get fixed because if they're sitting in a position of power, they have a million people talking in their ear that are also in their pockets. So, let's hold this out as a fundraising campaign or, et cetera, because it doesn't affect them. These rich people can get access to safe abortions whenever they want. Funny enough, most of their mistresses probably had abortions paid for by these politicians. I know that there's a huge, crowdsourcing going on with journalists right now that are asking people that have had abortions paid by Republicans to come forward, because it is a thing that happens. Like, rich people will always have access to everything. And this is absolutely just a hit against the working class. All of it is against the impoverished class. It's just people that we need to keep down, because otherwise they're not going to work for $12 an hour. They're not going to be desperate. They want desperate people. And it's awful. I wish we were I wish we just launched a revolution, but how do you even do that? And also, they had so many years to fix this.
Well, Jess, you already lit the Supreme Court on fire. It looks like you already got it started without us. We got.
Listen, they did this themselves. They had we had a head start. They leaked the opinion draft. Then nothing happened, and our rights got taken away anyway. Also, hi, children are dying in our school. And this is even more offensive that you're yay, pro-life, life wins, while there's 19 murdered children in Uvalde, Texas. So it's does life really win? I don't understand where life begins for them and where it ends for them. Is it life for white Christian lives? Is it life for all children? Because I think all children should live,
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about how our politicians, the ones that are supposed to be on our side, have failed us. Because Obama came out with a tweet when this all happened, and it was very by the books, exactly what you'd expect him to say. And it's like, my dude, you had 8 years, 4 of those years, you had a majority in the Senate to codify Roe v. Wade, to codify the right to legal gay marriage, all of these things, to codify contraception, the right to contraception, all of these things. They could have put that into law so that we wouldn't be in the situation we're in right now. And they chose not to, because it was too divisive of a topic, because they thought we would never get to the point we're in today. But here we are.
Have you ever visited the Blue Dog Democrat website?
No.
So there's this. So in 2008, 2009, when Obama was first elected, there's this branch of Democrat that refer to themselves as the Blue Dog Democrats. They're going to relate to the right wing and do things that are right wingy, for the lack of a better term, but it's going to overall improve things in the country, and let's embrace liberalism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is the crowd that made it impossible to get universal health care when the Affordable Care Act was getting kind of negotiated. There's a lot of promise there. These are the people that Obama kind of listened to and compromised with and believed in. He was trying to make the Republican and Democratic parties work together in a good faith way, because he honestly believed that good faith was the order of the day.
No good faith.
that is the problem. Like, there hasn't been good faith in politics. I mean, like, I don't know, if you looked at the 2004 elections, like, that's like the turning point for me, at least. 2000 for sure. Like, there's some stuff that went on there, some shenanigans. But like 2004 was an actual case where you had misinformation that like directly impacted who was getting elected. Right. In 2000, you had like, you know, the riot, the Brooks Brothers riot that was the initial riot. The reason why, so, all right, hold on. I'm going to loop everything back just for a little bit. I'm going to try not to be too wordy here. But in 2000, there was a riot similar to what happened on January 6th that made it impossible for Al Gore to become president. Because there's one place where counting was happening. If the counting was finished, Al Gore would have had standing to go to the Supreme Court and say, hey, I think I'm winning this election. Yeah. So a bunch of people, including Roger Stone, the guy who...
Top the votes.
Yeah, the guy who works with Donald Trump on all this shit, that guy was involved in the Brooks Brothers riot. So when 2020 was coming around and I like, you know, was like looking in the news, I was thought, okay, so some shit's going to happen this year. Yeah. Absolutely, right? So you had that moment. And then you had like 2004 where misinformation was propagated and used intentionally to make John Kerry look like some sort of like not war hero and somehow make George W. Bush look like a war hero. And then boom, somehow George W. Bush wins, right? So being the president that came after those two last election cycles and thinking that like, you know, the other side's going to work in good faith and you don't just bowl them over is just kind of unfortunate. That's like the tragedy of Obama. He was pragmatic to a fault. Like there's a certain point you have to take the initiative and just charge.
We keep getting these pragmatic Democratic leaders, the Joe Bidens, right? These people that are like, we're going to reach across the aisle.
Worse. All those people are worse. Like Barack Obama, like the pragmatism of Barack Obama was as leftist leaning as you were going to get in terms of pragmatism.
Right, but at the end everyone else he still tried to reach across the aisle. Like it's all these people who are like on the Democrat side who are like more moderate, who are like, okay, we really can unite as a country and come together on the important issues that matter. Meanwhile, Republicans are just full on like, no, we're a united front and we're going to cock block you on any policy you want to do.
You need to have incentive to bring people together. If you're just saying, please work with me, the folks who are just like, you know, used to getting their way aren't going to try. You have to bowl them over legislatively.
And well, good thing they might all be legally prosecuted for their role in January 6th insurrection. So, I mean, less people on the docket there.
I bad news kind of about that, I think. Like, yeah, they might get prosecuted, but I don't think it's going to fly.
I don't think they'll get indicted either.
The political will. So, the thing is, they should.
Yeah.
They should. And
people died.
And if Joe Biden and the Democrats were on target, this whole thing would have been done a year ago, a year and 2 months ago. Like it needed to happen right away while everyone was in shock. Now everyone's desensitized to the idea. Please. Like they're so like the whole American population is so desensitized that if the Democrats try to do it, it's going to be looked at as like some sort of like political like maneuvering and not just, hey, these actors are actually subverting our institutions and we need to do something about it. I listened to this guy, his name's Mike Duncan. He is one of the most fantastic historians on the planet, arguably. I'm just going to say that because I'm a huge fanboy. He's got this podcast called The Revolutions Podcast where he talks about how governments collapse. And the Revolutions guy is saying, and I'm going to read his tweet here. Remember, kids, organizing and direct action get the goods. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So the guy who's looked at like policy from like, you know, 1.5 to 24 governments historically, like did all the studying, did all the research, says that direct action is the way to go and organize is the way to go. And like, yeah, voting is important too. Don't forget that. But obviously if you want your way, you can't just
unionize.
Do all the things. Like seriously, just do all the things.
No one will ever give you what you want because you ask for it. That's almost never the case, both in companies and in the government. Like if you ask nicely, you're probably not going to get it unless there's some sort of incentive.
Ollie, are you telling me that the answer isn't 7 TikTok dances you can do to say Roe v. Wade? Are you telling me that's not the answer?
God.
Okay, no, get that down. No, get that down. Hold on. Here, let me just send you the tweet. I'm sending you the tweet. You don't have to put that trash on our story. No.
That's disgusting.
That's the person to follow. That's the person who will tell you exactly what to do. That's the man who helped me realize what was going to happen in the 2020 elections. Like, I was the only person in any of my friends' groups talking about politics at all who was like, hey, I think something's going to happen here. And, like, he was warning us. Like, he has a book, Storm Before the Storm. He's talking about, like, you know, the fall of the Roman Republic. And he talks about, like, you know, all the key lessons that come from the Roman Republic turning into something else.
Yo, I want this man's cooking, okay?
He's so fucking cool.
Well, the funny
right.
thing is, you look at the fall of the Roman Empire and most empires in general.
Not the fall of the Empire, the Republic.
The
I have an
Republic.
idea.
There's a distinction here because it
What
goes
if-
into the Roman Empire. Right,
What's up, Jess?
No, I have an idea. Like, what if we just construct a large Donald Trump, a wooden large Donald Trump, put it in front of the Supreme Court, and then we all just chill in this like large Donald Trump, right? And then we're like, hey, here's your president. We've been leaking it we've been waiting for a little bit. He's actually the president. Surprise, he won. Yeah, let's get him in the Supreme Court. And then we all just
that would work.
TikTok dances. We'll do TikTok dances, and then we'll save democracy.
We'll sing a nice little poem.
It's 2022. We have to use golden statues now. That's the thing that they all worship. We have to get a giant golden Donald Trump statue.
So I like the plan, Jess. When we pop out of the giant Donald Trump, then we'll sing a nice little poem on the steps of the Supreme Court, and it's going to solve everything.
7 TikTok dances. We're going to have 7 people, 7 TikTok dances, and we're going to save democracy.
What idiot came up with that shit?
What the
TikTok dances? No, the TikTok dances.
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna do this and like, all right, we're gonna bring Roe v. Wade. Like,
guys, I found the plan. I found the plan. All right, we're gonna pop out.
I hate everything about social media.
We're gonna pop out and then just whenever.
No, I don't. No, it's this. No, this is the shit.
That's it.
This better not be it.
That's the
This is gonna bring the country together. This is it.
I'm gonna do an enactment of what it's gonna
it's
look
an ad.
like.
I just want the Julius. Where's the Julius? There we go. That's it.
You know how to floss? I don't know how to floss. I tried once.
It's the only thing I know how to do.
What Jess is doing right now is going to bring the country together. No, so to bring it back for a second, and this is something Rebel Comic Nerd brought up earlier, which segues into our topic, overarching topic covering Roe v. Wade, is that the fact that the military came out in favor of Roe v. Wade, and AB case is still publicly silent.
Yeah,
so
there's a thread of all of the game companies that have come out to support their employees and ones that just haven't said anything, and they've also been called out. So we'll get through the long list. Josh, you want to kick us off?
Sure, let's go through it. So the I mean, did we want to just go through them one by one?
Well, no, we don't have to, but notably, Naughty Dog came out and said something, in support. Bungie always does. Bungie is very much like, like on it. PlayStation. Who's that one? I can't see.
So if we want to bring up the article, the PlayStation, the Forbes PlayStation article. This is okay. Then the Games Radar alternative link. After the CEO and president of PlayStation, what was it? Jim. Let's see. Jim Ryan.
We have a couple chats. So
go for it.
ABK stands for Activision Blizzard King. It is the all-encompassing umbrella of Activision Blizzard and all subsidiaries. So it's like everyone that works under Activision Blizzard. So ABK is the short. And then did you see Starbucks said they would fund abortions only for non-union stores? What the hell?
Fucked.
Imagine.
That is unbelievably fucked.
Yeah, King is Candy Crush, so yes.
Hey, we'll give you a basic human right, but only if you give up your rights. Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with people?
Give up your rights, and we'll allow you to have a basic human right. It's
like this is like so subversive. Like they've been doing this shit this whole time, right? Like we'll give it. Like we were talking about this earlier, like last week. Jessica.
Yeah.
They were literally going to give all the raises to the non-union stores just to like make it punish people for choosing. Like they're literally punishing people for going union. Like it's actually doing that. And now they're going this far. Like it's insane.
It's illegal.
Yeah.
But how are they getting away with it?
Okay. I want to clarify, just because we like to stay clear here. There is no statement that I can find saying that they are specifically doing that. It's just wrapped under the same thing we've been talking about, that all the new changes for stores will not apply to stores unionizing because they are in their like argumentative
bargaining.
Yeah, they're bargaining. That's where I was like, they're bargaining phases right now. So there's no.
But they're doing this
completely
on purpose?
Crazy, right? Absolutely, but there's no absolutely batshit statement that just says they said that. Just to clarify.
Well,
yeah,
right.
Okay.
There's no statement, but like the fact that they're using tactics like this to get away with it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. They're saying, "Oh, you want us to do this, and we have to do it perfectly correctly. So we're not going to give these stores the benefits that they obviously want.
Mike,
They get paid more."
I love how you're our Jamie. You're like our equivalent of the Joe Rogan Jamie.
Well,
It's like,
except for it's not hard to keep you all honest. Jamie actually has to like get into like a boxing match with Joe every other like minute. You know,
puts in work. Yeah.
I'm your Dan from the H3 podcast. That's what I am.
That's
right?
that's more
Oh
accurate.
yeah, I like that better. Fuck
Way
those.
better.
We need that dance.
So yeah, this is Jim Sony Studios Jim Ryan, who's the CEO and president. He sent out an email, and this was leaked to all of the studio heads of the various PlayStation studios, like Sony Santa Monica, Naughty Dog, et cetera, asking for neutrality after Roe v. Wade was overturned. Basically, asking the studios to respect people no matter what beliefs they may have, and not issue statements that support one way or the other. And in spite of that, basically every Sony studio went ahead and released statements regardless. And they were so like back to back, like one after the other, that it seemed coordinated. So I wouldn't be surprised if all of the Sony studios
Oh
did.
my god, collective action and
yeah,
Sony.
exactly.
Oh.
I think Sony is usually a little above the studios, not the overarching umbrella. But I do think the Sony studios are usually a little ahead of the curve when it comes to
Would be
these
sick
sorts of things. What's up?
if like all of those different studios replied and said, okay, if you're asking us to be neutral, maybe you should sign a neutrality agreement.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we'll be neutral. So that'd be great. Okay.
So Naughty Dog came out and said Naughty Dog believes reproductive freedom and bodily autonomy are basic human rights and essential to the health and well-being of everyone. We will continue to uphold these values and actively support all of our employees in receiving the care that they need and want. Guerrilla Games just posted an image that says reproductive freedom and bodily autonomy are human rights. Yeah. Sucker Punch Studios, reproductive freedom and bodily autonomy are human rights, in a very similar image. Insomniac followed up with the same thing. Santa Monica Studios says we believe in bodily autonomy and reproductive freedom are fundamental human rights. Santa Monica Studio will continue to uphold these values and support our team members in receiving the access and care that they need. And this goes on and on, all of the various Sony studios. So it sounds like they're all in agreement. And you see this across the video game industry as well as outside of the games industry. Massive companies, including banks, which is funny because they're usually the most greedy and corrupt people. But like, all across all industries, you have companies coming out saying that they're going to provide, make sure that their employees get the care that they need. And I think that's awesome. I think that's great. You'd love to see it. What's unfortunate is that all of these major companies are based in places with employees, like primarily in places that already have access to the healthcare that they'll need. They live in like primarily left blue leaning states where this the right to abortion is not going to be cut off by the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So the people who are really hurt are not the people that work and have decent jobs at these major companies. It's people who live in states where they are probably making minimum wage and they don't have the financial freedom to make the travel to other states that still have human rights. At the end of the day, stuff like this always hurts the poor and disenfranchised.
Yeah, it definitely does. And like, hello, United States, like, why aren't we all making sure that we all have the same amount of rights? And
the point of the federal government, that's the whole fucking point, is to make sure that also, human rights applied like world, statewide.
State rights, get out of here, because the whole reason state rights was even a thing was because people wanted slaves. So we're not doing that again. And now y'all want baby slaves. And
I'm really glad that you brought that up, Jessica, because this is actually going to get us to our next, stage of where this abortion rights court case stuff is going to go. Because back in the day, there was free states and slave states, right? Mm-hmm. And there was there's different fugitive slave acts that existed in the early stages of our country. And in one Supreme Court case, there was a decision made so the state of Pennsylvania had this law that basically said if you take someone who's free and not a slave, or just someone who's black in Pennsylvania cannot be taken to another state and turned into a slave. So the slave catchers were having a hard time with that. They went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the slave catchers, which then set the precedent for state laws that attacked other states' laws in terms of whatever freedoms the states were trying to guarantee or not guarantee. So we're actually looking at a situation now where different states are going to pass laws basically criminalizing what's legal
and they already
in other
have.
states.
Then they already have. They have trigger laws that have been going into effect since this was announced. And
so the next step here is that they're going to go to the Supreme Court that, seems to be want to, be in favor of states' rights, but now they're going to find some way of using legalese to say, well, certain state rights are more important than other state rights. And that's the thing we have to look forward to now with this Supreme Court that's stacked the way it is.
And what's so transparent is that they're ruling in favor of states' rights when it comes to gun control, or rather federal rights. They're a blanket federal ruling that applies to expanding access to guns, nationwide. Meanwhile, kicking it back to states' rights when it's something that they don't agree with. It's so transparent. It's so transparent. Like, these are
we should actually talk about this.
Yeah, by all means.
So this week, the same week that they did Roe v. Wade, they also did they struck down this New York law that kind of decided whether you're allowed to open carry if provoked. They shut that down in favor of the federal government instead of states' rights, just like you were talking. But actually, there's one more thing that happened that's completely fucked. That's been overshadowed by
you're talking about the environmental protection one, West Virginia versus Environmental Protection Agency.
No, that was something else.
Oh, well, that's another one that
I'm sure
that also
a lot of things got overlooked, but with the Roe v. Wade. But the one that is actually probably the worst that's not Roe v. Wade is the Miranda rights. Police officers don't have to do you have the right to be silent attorney stuff anymore. If they fail to do that, it's not going to impact your legal stuff that happens.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And
is.
that would have been a big deal. That should have been a big deal. That's crazy.
So just don't talk to the cops. And also just say, I want my lawyer. Make it perfectly clear what you want, and then don't say anything. And that's it.
They did it all at the same time.
Again, it's so transparent, right? It's expanding protections for officers, expanding what they have the right to do. For example, another thing that got passed this week was allowing expanding the what Border Patrol agents are allowed to have jurisdiction over, where they basically, what was it? They now have jurisdiction over anywhere that's within 100
states.
I think 100 miles of a border, which, I mean, surprise, that's most of fucking America is by a border one way or another within 100 miles.
It's fascism. They can come in your home. They can, without reason, if they suspect anything, they don't have to read you your rights. They can arrest you. And it's another way to suppress votes, because guess what? These people are going to be able to vote. So,
not to mention Border Patrol consistently ends up being the agency with the most right-leaning beliefs. You can believe what you want about cops in general, but Border Patrol generally tends to be the most aggressive when it comes to right-leaning policy.
Border Patrol is our version of what cops were like back then when they were slaves. It's people will come and they're super aggravated.
Well, we have to be clear though, there's Border Patrol and then there's ICE. And what ICE was doing during the Trump administration, that was
locking people up in
really
cages.
Fucked up, because they didn't have to necessarily check in on your citizenship. They could just hold you, detain you, and then evaluate whether you're a citizen or not. And plenty of citizens were grabbed. And then I don't know if anybody remembers during the BLM protests, there were these unmarked federal officers who were coming in, grabbing people. And I don't know. I wonder what agency those unmarked federal agents were coming from.
Hey,
we're just used to grabbing people off the street. I don't know.
Want to jump in real quick to clarify? It's the border, not all borders, Josh. So not state borders, but just the international border of America. Just
so it's clarify. But I mean, it's still
and
really
add on
deep
to
into
Ollie,
each
those
state.
state agents were around this weekend, by the way. Tons of photos of those. So
I believe it. Yep.
So LAPD, famously horrible. The whole reason the song "Fuck the Police" exists. they are totally militarized. I mean, the way that they have been like manhandling journalists and threatening people, they had snipers like on top of the 110 freeway, which is near my house. They had like cops with snipers that were they're like less lethal force, but they're like literally pointing them at the protesters in a lethal manner. So it's like these people who aren't trained having these military size, like they have like Captain America shields. They can freaking like, hello, we're gonna take your rights and just dress like Captain America, and y'all are gonna deal with it. Like we literally live in a police state fascist economy that is gonna do whatever the government says, and it's like the right is saying, "Hi, kill everyone who's not a Christian white straight male," and the right is saying, or the left is saying, "Hi, pay for my dinner," or something. And it's just like, hello, we just want rights. Like we just want to be able to live. And do you realize how good the economy would be if people had the means to actually consume? Like you want consumers, you want consumerism, but you're like, you have us in like this chokehold. We can't even consume things. So it's like weird. But at any rate, it's dumb because it's like the right's like, hey, look, we're doing this obviously evil stuff, and then the Democrats are like, hey, look at all this evil stuff they're doing. Donate to my campaign. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
Other legislation that's that kind of got overshadowed this week as well was the West Virginia versus Environmental Protection Agency, which is again another federal right. It's basically like it's legislation that allows the EPA to have federal authority to regulate emissions at certain facilities, and this is another thing that's on the chopping block at the moment.
Yep.
It comes down to the diminishing of the federal government's ability to regulate and also enforce rights in certain categories, but then strengthening the federal government's right to regulate other things, such as a human body, which
Mike, can you pull up Elon Musk's derogatory pinned tweet, please?
Oh, I didn't even
but yes.
Oh God. Yeah, I didn't even there's so much has been going
I just have
on.
something
Elon
to
fell
say,
off my
and
radar.
it goes with my theory of the rich are just looking for a class to exploit, and there's not enough people having kids right now, and this is why they're forcing people to have birth rates.
What did he say?
He pinned the fertility slump, and
I saw that.
So there's this like obviously slave owner. Let's just call it what it is. He's a slave owner. He wants people that are impoverished, that are forced to work for his pennies. A lot of these rich people do. They're realizing the birth rate is going lower. Where do they attack? Women. They attack LGBT. They attack marriage. They attack like literally everything to like try and force kids into the system where it's like a poor system. They're either going to work in the military or they're going to work in capitalism in
What's really
factories.
ridiculous about this is that like if you understand anything about like how populations like work like based on economics, like everything stabilizes when you have like an industrialized, like fully industrialized nation. Like just like there's like, you know, the part where everyone has a dozen kids because like, you know, some of your kids are going to die because your country isn't like, you know, industrialized enough to protect them. And then all the magic happens. You have like all the products that you want, and all of a sudden there's no reason to have more than 2 kids, and then everyone just has 2 kids. The birth rate will just stabilize, like just automatically. Like all you have to do is just make sure everyone can make money so that they can buy things, and then you'll just have everyone will have 2.5 kids.
They want the rich people to have a lot of money and a lot of hedge fund kids while they have a poor class to exploit, because we need that poor class to exploit.
Our boy is also like literally in the business of putting people out of jobs. Like he is in the business of autonomizing stuff like
here's
trucking.
The mortality rate that runs along the same side.
Like his technology is going to put like a massive amount of people out of jobs. So yeah, it's probably a good I don't know why he's on about like the
well,
the US
look, I don't want to. Okay, so I don't want to be like technophobic when it comes to this, because like there's like this idea where like, you know, if the automobile wasn't invented, then horseshoe like staplers would or builder makers whatever wouldn't have lost their jobs. Like no, technology and innovation is required in a society. What we need to do is be able to give everyone an opportunity to participate in the new industries that come forth from having everything managed by automatons. Fine. So like robot repair people or programmers or whatever the fuck else. Like the economy is just constantly going to be shifting. We don't need to be beholden to the previous economy
Right.
to be functional. We just need to create some sort of like, safety net, maybe through like some sort of universal income or, some sort of like, quality unemployment law or like, whatever, maybe like some wage laws. So that when people lose their jobs, they can get another job readily that will pay them enough to get by until they find something that they want to do.
Mm.
And that's it. And like, we don't
Yeah.
need to have people working 40 hours a week if we have automatons. That's great. Let's have that full-time 30-hour-a-week work week thing. Like, why do we have to make it so that we're forcing people to work 40 hours a week when we could reduce the weekly
Why are we forcing
labor?
people to have give birth when we could just literally
Because more people to
we
spend
could have
money.
universal health care.
More people to
Like-
spend money for their capital, and more people
Yeah.
to compete for those jobs to drive down
Giving
costs.
birth to human
like-
capital. They want more human capital.
What's crazy to like, it's just crazy. Like, the thing is, like, even if this is what Elon Musk actually wants, if Elon Musk was like, okay, I just want to force people to give birth, and in 20 years there'll be enough workers to do all the things I want them to do or whatever. I don't understand. Like, that is just so not going to work.
I know.
It just doesn't. Like, the system.
I know, but people think
systems
he's
are
a
crashed in
genius
12 years.
because he has money. So
Mm.
Let's be real. These people don't actually care about any of these issues. Elon doesn't actually care about this. Most Republicans, they don't care. Again, it all comes back to like just an unsatiable lust for power. These people just use these hot button topics to stay in power, including
Democrats do too.
including the Democrats like Nancy Pelosi, who had the emails ready to go to like support, this upcoming campaign. We have to beat them back. Like, Nancy, you have been part of, like, you are ancient. You are a mummy. You have been part of how many administrations that have been in power and had a chance to codify all of this stuff. Like, these people are all jokes. And until we get more people like AOC and Bernie Sanders, the people who are labeled extremists within their party right now, until the majority of the party are people like them in power who actually care about us and actually represent what we want, absolutely nothing is going to change. And it's always going to be this tug of war where it's a little bit of give. Like, when Trump was in power, everybody was like, okay, cool, now the pendulum's going to swing the other way. And then the pendulum swung the other way. And it's like, I truly have no hope that and this is like, I really have no hope that things are going to change until these old people die out. And if you look at like Gen Z's political beliefs, like, you better believe, like, right now, the unions are kind of on the up. There's an uptick for sure. But when Gen Z comes to power, when the majority of them enter the workforce, you better believe that like everything we're talking about and stand for on this show today, like, it's going to explode. It's going to be an actual revolution.
That is why us as millennials need to do the heavy lifting and help them get to where they need to be.
Make sure there's a world left for them.
Yeah, because it's like, we can't just sit around and wait. We can't, like, everything's been messed up for millennials, arguably, probably since 9/11, to be honest with you, because like, I don't think anyone has felt like this country has been the same ever since. It's just like, I don't know. Or like, maybe the veil was lifted. Maybe we all realize the American dream is actually just a nightmare. It's like us imposing all of our beliefs and structures on literally the entire society. And it's not like this melting pot of diversity and culture and everyone respects everybody. And it's actually just, no, let's funnel as much money as we can into the rich class. And then, so they can try and preserve life on other planets because they know people are dying out. Who knows? Who knows, really? I
think they don't know what they're doing, and they're just like back. Like, I feel like what really happens is like they do something that's greedy or selfish, and then they just like justify afterwards. And then people are like, oh yeah, they're playing 5D chess because they obviously have wealth, and we live in a meritocracy, and and that's it. Like, people are just like, I don't know. Like, I remember in like the 2000s how much people are like thinking that Donald Trump was like somehow like incredibly intelligent because of The Apprentice, right?
Oh
like,
my God, don't even get me started.
Like, this is how you actually, have hustle and get a job, et cetera, et cetera. Like, he built like a lot of credibility with like a lot of dumb people. No offense to,
Well, no, I had people who didn't pay attention to politics, and they were like, he's a businessman. He's going to fix all the economy.
He's a business liquidator. His business was literally to acquire failing businesses, take all the wealth attached,
and it's the stuff
unemploy everyone.
Elon. They think he's a rich genius, but no, he just puts his name on things.
He's a genius at manipulating the legal system to make money. Like, we don't have to like pretend that Donald Trump is like a complete moron. He mostly is, but the one thing he's particularly good at is using the legal system to generate wealth.
Yeah.
And like that's the problem. Like you can't have someone like that in charge of your country as president because they're not going to act as like some sort of mysterious benefactor for everyone. They don't give a fuck. If they didn't give a fuck about like, you know, the thousands of people they put out into the streets by liquidating X company or Y company, why would they give a fuck about like
They don't
300
care.
million Americans
Because it
when
doesn't
they
affect
can,
them.
yeah. Like he literally would upcharge, he would like add rent costs to the Secret Service protecting his family members and make sure they had people stationed in as many buildings as possible owned by him. So the federal government was paying as much as it could to him. It's insane.
It's the
like,
nepotism show.
Right. And then what's crazy is like you see him doing all this stuff and all the people that gave a shit about Barack Obama golfing once every like 6 months.
Yeah.
Or going to India on a diplomatic tour. How expensive is this going to be? They don't give a flying fuck about how much money Donald Trump has like literally sucked from the U.S. government.
They actually praise him and cite it.
Also, can I just like any chance I can to shit on Ronald Reagan, I'm going to. So, hi, Ronald Reagan is the devil. He is an actual demon. Yes. Ronald Reagan, fuck you. Thanks for the economy, asshole, and thanks for everyone who's been elected being just you in a different hat. So
what's ironic is that some of the protections, but what's ironic is that some of the protections that Ronald Reagan actually like. Oh, actually, sorry, it was actually Nixon.
Yeah.
That
Reagan
Nixon,
is the devil.
Reagan is absolutely the devil, but even
Excellent.
Nixon, who not a lot of great policies there, but some of the federal protections that he put in place are the same ones that Republicans are now trying to get rid of.
Nixon's policies were better than his personality and his.
Ronald Reagan wanted to talk about welfare queens. Let's talk about welfare queens. Who are the real welfare queens in this country? The oil rig companies are the welfare queens in this country. The banks are the welfare queens in this country. They always constantly get bailed out by the government. They are taking effectively all of our money. That's why they want to get rid of Social Security and all that stuff, because guess where it all went anyway? It's going to the banks to bail them out because we've been trying to avoid this recession for so long and it's happening anyway.
Imagine in 2008, all the banks are on the verge of collapse because people can't pay their bills. And then instead of saying, okay, here's money to the people so they can pay the bills to the banks so the banks don't collapse, they then proceed to just bail out the banks directly and just leave everybody in debt hanging.
And blamed the people for taking out loans that they couldn't afford, even though it was the banks that could encourage them.
Even if it was the banks who are min-masking risk. Like they learned the art of risk. Like there's an actual science behind risk.
Well, I think they're learning it again right now with crypto. Like I think they're actively learning again because they let these crypto companies say, hey, I'm going to take out a huge loan against crypto, but trust me, bro, it's going to be fine. And then they take these loans and they do stupid shit like
they're
make
not learning.
Shitty games or
the thing is, they're not learning. They've learned the science of risk, and then they're like, okay, let's exploit as much capital as we can using risk, and then everything that happens as a side effect, like as a consequence of our decisions, we're just going to let it happen and say, fine.
Yeah, no, capitalism. We need something else.
To address something that Backel said.
That's what's so crazy about it. It's just like literally people being irresponsible. We didn't even talk about capitalism yet, which is
to address something Backel said. Get involved at the local and at the local level and support progressive candidates. Yes, absolutely. But the issue is that like due to the complete power imbalance that is the Supreme Court, we can get involved in politics as much as we want for the next decade, for the next 2 decades. The Democrats could win the House and Senate for the next 20 years. And at the end of the day, we're still stuck with those Supreme Court justices until they kick dirt or retire. Like they can continue to do exactly what they did just now and continue to.
They knew what they were doing. They erected those gates right when it got leaked. They knew what they were doing.
I mean, they knew what they were doing ever since Mitch McConnell decided to play semantics games and force as many right-wing justices into the court as possible, pretending that we're not going to do this thing, and they were doing the thing that everybody's making excuses for the Supreme Court having done.
Mitch McConnell just falls and
he needs to die. Unfortunately, he's a vampire. He sucks.
He's a turtle.
He's a vampire turtle that sucks the blood
him
of
over so he can die. Don't get me started on Mitch McConnell because
in golf, in Minecraft, etc. Like Mitch McConnell is what I really hate about the Republican Party is that for all their stupid ideas that they present to the majority, the masses, all their operatives, all the people that are involved are extremely skilled at doing what they do. Like Mitch McConnell is extremely skilled as a politician. He's just a bastard. He's a very skilled bastard, and it sucks because there's no equal in the Democrat side. Because there's this like focus on like ethics and morals that I think, I mean, not to say that one side's more evil than the other or whatever. Like, that's not inherently true necessarily, unless you look at policy very, very particularly and reflect on it. But like, what gets you elected as a Democrat in primaries is not like political aptitude.
Nope.
It's just not. It's
yeah, I want to make a disclaimer, because this is something that somebody actually came into my like Twitter DMs about, that I think it's like different, right? Especially with like different cultures and stuff. It's really important to address, like, people are really upset right now, justifiably so. They're very upset. So they are speaking in metaphors, like saying things like we should just burn the Supreme Court, right? Obviously, don't do that. I think people are just exhausted, and we've kind of just been we've just been taking these meetings for so long in Congress and like the state and the Supreme Court. It's like it doesn't even matter how we vote. We're so disenfranchised already. And then, they're pushing these like minority laws and things like that. So I think people are just scared, tired, frustrated. They have no way to properly, they feel hopeless, right? So like, what do people feel when they're like backed against a wall? It's like they fight, right? So even if they don't actually throw Molotov cocktails, it's like metaphorically they want to do that stuff because it's exhausting to deal with. It's like trying to prove to a government why you deserve to live should not be something that people have to go through. They should not have to deal with I want to love who I love, or I want to be who I am. And why is that met with such resistance? It's like, how are you going to tell these people who are backed up in the corner for their whole lives, like not to think about or joke about these kind of things? Because it's like, what are you going to do when someone's aggressively being violent towards you, whether it's like systemic or physically? Like we've seen a lot of physical violence to minorities and other groups. It's gross. And it's like, people are so frustrated right now that they're saying these things, because it's like, obviously they don't condone violence, but how do you tell someone calmly, hi, I deserve to live, if they're actively trying to kill you? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So
it doesn't.
So I would just say, just meet those people with a little bit of grace. They're very frustrated. You probably have a privilege that they don't, and that's it. I mean, I understand that, calling for violence is not the answer for you, and that's great that you are able to be in that position. But if you're backed into a corner as a mouse by a cat, you got to fight. Just what you do.
I mean, and like the thing that is really crazy about like how circular human history is, like every government on the verge of like at these like key moments in history are in the same situation where like they've tried to walk this line for X number of years. There's like, bad faith actors within the institutions operating the society and like forcing people to this corner. And you've got like the people in charge being like these middle folk trying to like, keep everybody together, even though there's bad faith individuals and desperate individuals on the other side. And like at the end of the day, like the best solution for these problems is just side on the folks who are desperate and say, hey, look, these people are suffering. We need to do something about this.
Yeah, and that's all Black Lives Matter was. It wasn't like Black people are more important than everyone else. It's like, hi, Black people are actively being murdered right now. We need to band together and do something about it. But it's like, always like people want to play both sides, devil's advocate. They want to say like, oh, well, is this going to mean that white lives don't matter? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means like, let's put everyone on the same playing field, because we're clearly fucking up somewhere.
And like the defund the police thing too. Like the point wasn't to defund the police. The point was to fund everything else so that police don't have to exist in X community or Y community. And what ended up happening, and this is like the dumbest thing about like what happened in 2020, is they defunded the police, but they didn't do the part that was important, which was fund everything else. And because of that, they ended up just like tripling down on funding the police.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like,
it's
you didn't
crazy.
even have to fund the police to start. Just like fund everything else, go a little into the red a little bit, and then you'll find yourself like getting paid off, like in the long term, and then you can just like slowly roll back on your police costs because they're just not necessary anymore. That was the point. No one figured that out.
I want to hear from Mike. We haven't heard from Mike in a minute, and I kind of want to talk about our next story before we all go off on another tangent. So, Mike, can you get that up on my screen? Thank you. All right, everyone. Welcome to our next topic.
Wait, before we transition to this next
Wait,
topic,
how does this have to
do
do with hearing from me? You're like, I want to
No.
hear from Mike, so Mike, click the
We
button.
I do.
We just
I want to
talked
hear
about
from
the
you.
apocalypse. We just talked about the apocalypse. The proper segue would have been like, speaking of the future.
Yeah. Hold on. Wait. No, we have to let Josh do it.
Yeah,
Okay,
wait.
good.
So
Josh, you got this, yes.
before we transition to the next topic, we should probably call out, like, right now things do feel a little hopeless, but it's not that we can't do nothing. There are things that we can do, so we should probably make some
Yeah.
call outs of things that you can do. For example, even though Planned Parenthood does help out with people who are low income, who don't necessarily always have the money for abortions, the cap for the income that, like, the income cutoff is actually pretty low. So some people might make a certain amount of income and still not be able to afford an abortion because they don't get help from Planned Parenthood, but they also don't they still can't afford it with how much they make. So if you know anyone, like, people always say vote local, help local. If you know anyone who's in a situation,
Donate to them directly.
donate to them directly. Maybe there are local organizations that will help them
Yep.
get them the care that they need.
Yeah.
If you are in a place where there are protests going on, I think every voice in those protests matters. I think the longer we keep these protests going, in the same way that the Black Lives Matter protests, like, really caused some like nationwide disruption, we need to keep these protests going on as long as possible. And also donate to Planned Parenthood if you have the ability to do that as well. And Jess, how can guys be an ally right now? I wanted to ask you. Oh, I think you're muted. Or maybe a mic got unplugged.
I'm very plugged in. Thank you very much.
That was good,
You
Mike.
can't hear me at all?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, men, you can shut the fuck up and listen to women. Specifically Black women, because they've been trying to tell you the longest. Amplify voices, to make noise. If you hear one of your male colleagues being a centrist, call them out and say no. Like, why should the court tell you what to do with your body? Like, why am I forcing people to have babies? Like, what the hell is going on? You know, like, it just listen to women, please, because we're not trying to hurt anybody. Like, we just want to freaking exist and have body autonomy, you know? Like, how would you like it? Like, there's literally nothing that's regulated to men in the courts like this, you know? It's just like, it just doesn't make sense, you know? It doesn't make sense. But anyway, listen and shut down misogynist talking points, because they very much are still around, and just advocate for the people around you. And call out people that are hypocrites. Call out people that are, it's like, okay, well, I have a discussion with them. If they're like, all right, yeah, well, I mean, you know, the baby has a heartbeat. Well, first off, it's not even a fetus yet. In early, you know, any fetal or heart detection is not an actual baby. So I don't know. And then
cancer cells are alive. Are we gonna say they have a right to life?
Tumor.
Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, it makes no sense.
It's crazy. But yeah, you know, if you want to help, just get involved, have discussions.
Yeah.
Filter out the bad faith actors, because there are a lot of bad faith actors, and just keep on moving on and vote, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. It's just crazy.
This website was just linked to me.
Oh, also unionize. Unionize if you want to make, you know, everything happens, like Madeleine was saying earlier, like, everything happens, you know, locally. So, like, start local, unionize your workplace, unionize literally everyone around you all the time, because, like, when you see collective action happening, it's stronger, right? Like, people are stronger when they collectively get together and decide we're not going to take it anymore. And, you know, we go up to the boss, and the boss being the boss at your workplace, the boss at your Supreme Court, the boss at your, the president. Like, just organize. That's all we can do, is organize and just be there for each other. Solidarity first. Like, none of us are well until all of us are well. And I think people need to get out of that selfish mentality of like, well, it's not affecting me, so they probably deserve it. No, they don't. And wait till it affects you. You know, but it shouldn't take that. Like, Just like when men say like, "Oh, I didn't respect women until I had a daughter." No, never have a daughter.
I hate that.
Please never have a daughter if that is how you think, because I guarantee you're not a good person. You just it's crazy. It's crazy world out there. Everyone, and stop thinking that people are all good faith, because 9 times out of 10 they're not, and they want to just straw man you until you get tired. So stand firm.
Yep. It's crazy. It's always the people who are absolutely unfuckable who are the ones making choices on who a woman can fuck.
All of the people in the Supreme Court are infertile. Think about that. Not one of the person on the Supreme Court can have a child. And they're forcing literally millions of people to have children. For what?
With bad legal arguments too.
Yep. And continue to hold these game companies accountable, right?
Yeah.
Riot, the fact that Riot and Activision Blizzard, the fact that neither of these two landmark companies in the industry have come out and made a statement yet, like, fucking hold their feet to the fire, because that is, especially Riot, who still has if you go to their Twitter page, they still have the fucking pride stuff up on their pinned tweet. How can you, I'm sorry, but how can you like be loud and proud about supporting LGBTQ rights and not have a comment on the Roe v. Wade being overturned? Like, how do those two realities exist?
Because Mark Miller is a freaking centrist, and I called him out on Twitter for it, because he was donating to like Republican campaigns, and he got called out by a journalist, and then he attacked that journalist on Twitter, saying that the journalist was causing hate replies in his mentions and like people being mean to him. It's like, no. And then so I was like, no, Mark, actually your donation did that. Maybe look at why people are upset with you instead of trying to deflect blame onto a journalist. Because, they always want to do this stuff quietly, and then when they get called out for it, they're like, ew, you told everyone, instead of like, oh, maybe, yeah, right, what I did was bad. Fuck that. I think we should start calling out more people for being crappy. They can't just be donating to Republican campaigns that actively want to hurt civil rights. So
Absolutely. The whole mantra of like, we don't have to agree, but we can still respect each other. Like, no, we can't. You don't have to respect someone whose morals are totally
your political view does not respect me as a person. So why am I being respectful to you if you're literally like, hi, I think you should die.
Right. And like the thing is, like, I want to make it clear that this is like all like, like in public when we're talking about this stuff, like when we're engaging with other people, like on public platforms, like there is no such thing as friendship. Like everybody's like jockeying for position and power and whatever else. Like if you want to be friends with someone and try to de-radicalize someone, that's fine. I just got into a whole like bunch of Twitter heat with people over this shit. Like it's like, people are wanting to platform Nazis and like, trying to make me seem like the bad guy for calling them out on it. Like it's the most insane thing I've ever dealt with. But that's fine. Whatever. Who cares? I don't even want to platform them by saying their names because I think they're stupid. The point is that you can de-radicalize people. You can be friends with people with shitty views. That's never a problem. But don't just say, hey, this person is a human being as well. Let's give them the same sort of voice that we're going to give the people who are like actually trying to, be the good guys in the situation. Like you don't just say good guys, bad guys both have equal like speaking platforms because, the crowds will figure out who's right and who's wrong. That's not how that works. If you platform both, you're going to recruit people into the bad guy side. That's it. So you should be fighting people in public when they have a take that's actually like disingenuous.
You absolutely should be pushing back, and I think more people need to do that. But nice like calls out in the chat. People want me to be president, so I guess this is officially me running for president of 2024. No, I don't have enough time to like fundraise. Also, can I just say the probably Bobby Kotick funded anti-Jess campaign would be insane. Like I would love to see the shit that they dig up on me because I was totally a piece of shit when I was younger. So
oh yeah.
Well, get out of the way.
They'd be like, this chick, look at her. She's got tattoos. She got tubal ligation. You really want her running the country? In our America, we just fought for the right to be alive. Like, you want this girl who can't even have babies to be president?
Radical left strikes again. You want her in control of the nuclear codes?
She's gonna force gay marriage on everyone in the country. You're all gonna have one heterosexual and one homosexual partner. Well, that'd be great for like the tax break, honestly. Like that probably would be better, but
if you were president, what would be the first country you'd invade?
Wow. That's
America.
let's fill
because like we live in a fascist country right now, so I would literally have to invade America and get all the white nationalists
Wait.
somewhere.
Well,
round
to
them
be
up, put
fair,
them on
that would be a very American thing to do, Jess. For America to invade America for its own oil, that would be very American.
If America saw what we were doing and we were in like another country, we would be like, oh, we should probably invade that country and steal all of their resources and just say we instilled democracy there. So
the key is the
let's do
resources.
that here.
Yeah, America would
don't
be
give a fuck about
sanctioning
the-
America right now if it
Yeah.
was any other country. That's an Onion headline. America sanctions itself.
I mean, like what happened with Russia, for example. I mean, I'm just saying, like Russia's just modeling their behavior off of what we did. Like,
Yeah, agreed.
they are. I
100%.
mean, on a level that's like insane. And like I'm not like dismissing what happened, and like it's horrible. But like they are doing like what we did in Iraq. Like that's they learned it from us. If we didn't invade Iraq, there'd be no Russian invasion of Ukraine or Georgia or any of this. I guess we should have let them join NATO. I don't know.
Because we had Mike. Well, I had Mike specifically bring up our next topic and then say, "I want to hear from Mike," and then we all went on another tangent again.
All right. Speaking of a topic that you just can't seem to get past.
Ooh, love that.
Knights of the Old Republic 2, a classic game, was recently released on Switch. Yeah, you're right, but it's just it's gold. It's too gold to not transition to this one. So Mike, we've been hopping around segments all day. Now you're gonna give me shit for it when I got the perfect segue. You're gonna give me shit now. So Knights of the Old Republic 2, an age-old classic game that I have fond memories of playing on my HP desktop back in the day and could barely run because I didn't have a graphics card good enough to really play it. It's been released on Switch recently. This is the classic game with the oh so sweet Obsidian writing. Like Knights of the Old Republic 1, fun game, great game, good RPG mechanics. Awesome. But Knights of the Old Republic 2, wow, some of the most nuanced writing that is still acclaimed today. And it's truly just a phenomenal game. If you got it on Switch, you might be disappointed to find that without cheating, you cannot get past a certain point in the game because of a game-breaking bug. Which begs the question, did they QA this? Like, did the QA department only get halfway through the game and they were like, oh, well, we gotta ship it, so it probably works.
Probably. So as a QA professional, I hate that joke. Like, I hate when people are like, did QA test this? Is this tested? Like, specifically, every time Game Grumps did that, I was just like, come on. Because, like, QA is the redheaded stepchild of, like, every game company department. Like, anything goes wrong, it's QA's fault. And 9 times out of 10, we actually found the issue. They just don't give a fuck because they want to do their pump and dump scheme. They want to get their money and get out. They want people to pay for the pre-order, right? So that's all they really care about. Like, get it working to get the pre-order, and then we can go. So yeah, QA probably did freaking test it.
And they probably flagged it, and they were like, "We'll fix it before launch. Don't worry."
Yeah.
It didn't.
Or
get
they
fixed.
just don't care.
Or they just don't care. I mean,
we should totally reframe it, as Buckle Industries said. So what we should be asking is, did they listen to QA?
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
QA is like the legal counsel for like the consumer. Like, this is what the consumer cares about. Like, we are your advocate. You want us in there fighting for you. Call the law offices of Jessica Gonzalez.
This is wild that happened because Nintendo has some of the most strict and rigorous certification processes out of any publisher. And the fact that they didn't even catch this, they were just like, oh, well, we trust this studio. Or they just didn't care. I'm sure the studio was like, we'll get it fixed and like before launch, don't worry. And they just never got around to it. I mean, this is bad, right? Like in QA, we have things that are like, there's a priority list, and at the top of priority, there are blockers. Things that stop the progress of your game. And this is about as blocky as it gets. You can't get past this point in the game, which is a crucial story point that all players must go through. How do they not fix this? Like what?
Money. They saw the money and they just did not care. So
money. Did you? Bakel says, have you checked the eShop? Nintendo is letting some hentai games get on there. I mean, I'm in support of that. I have no problem with that.
I like hentai games, actually. I like the Otome games. The
hentai with
BF
consent.
Consentai.
Consentai, which is
Consentai.
2% of the hentai, but this ties into our next topic, not the hentai part, but the QA and bug testing thing. This is directly related to, and now Mike, we can do a proper segue into the human toll of Fallout 76 disaster.
Yes, we did.
Transition.
We got here.
Transition.
Woo! I'd like to thank Mike. I'd like to thank Mad Latin for getting us so off rails. I'd like to thank Josh for bringing it back. What's up, Mike?
Mike's the real hero. He's the one who actually tried to get us back on
Mike
rail.
is the hero of the
I'm
show.
not paid
Can I
enough for
just
this,
say?
which is $0.
But that can change if you guys subscribe and donate bits. Mike can feel like he gets paid.
Oh yeah. Also, if we have another subscriber, I'll eat this Popeye's biscuit on cam.
Can we talk about how it's Popeye's
One
and not
bite.
that other chicken place, by the way?
She'll do it in
fuck
one
Chick-fil-A.
bite.
Great reason to subscribe.
All my
and
homies
donate
hate
bits as well.
Chick-fil-A.
I mean, oh, Blunder goes subscribe to tier 1. Hey, now you have to eat the.
Hold on,
Let's go,
Blender.
let's
Do
see
you
it.
want it's very dry? Can I have honey on it, or do you want it just?
No, you're gonna eat it dry.
You're gonna eat your biscuit dry, just like the capitalists want you to.
Tastes like democracy.
You're gonna recreate how I felt just having to sit here silently for the last 30 minutes.
Like, now you know what it's like to be a woman for just a small amount of time.
Josh, I grew up autistic
Damn.
in conservative America.
I'm
I already
a
know
woman.
kind of what it feels like.
Damn, double damn. Oh my god, the dams. All
We're
the
double
dams.
dipping today, folks.
Like all the
Dicky
shit.
dipping.
Jesus.
Gosh, my neighbors invented
Well
this
delivered.
level of misogyny. I've seen it. I know.
Oh, fuck. It's fair.
Just how is that
So
dry?
dry.
You can put some honey on it. I feel like I think we can.
No,
Like,
I'm
but only a
committed to the
smidge.
bit.
Only a smidge of honey, so it's like like the laws that like Nancy Pelosi like tries to like
No, stop.
as, like,
Stop.
bandages
It's happening.
on-
No, we're getting back to it. You gotta
We're gonna
stop.
talk about Fallout 76. Damn it!
Damn
Somebody derailed us because I had to bring up the freaking biscuit. Let's get to the actual biscuit, which is
All
the
right.
So you
segment
mean
that we're gonna
you
do while I
derailed
finish
us
eating this
because
biscuit.
you
Thank you so much
brought
for
out
the sub.
biscuit.
The executive producer of Fallout 76, Nancy Pelosi. Fuck no. I mean, Mitch McConnell.
Oops, all Nancy Pelosi's. Can we get like
sorry.
a fucking photoshopped image of oops, all Nancy Pelosi's, please?
Lead producer on Fallout 76, Lindsey Graham.
Oh
I
no.
found Jess right now. Here we go. Here's
Oh
Jess.
no.
Oh my god. Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
That's a weird one.
It's so weird.
I don't even know if I get it. My dehydrated me drinking a glass of. I don't understand.
Your
it.
dehydrated body is clapping like this. And Donald Trump is looking, I don't know. It's fine. So
All right.
Fallout
Like
76.
you need
Fallout
more
76.
water, but you only drank like the one glass for the whole
One
day.
glass.
And it's like,
That's
yes, I'm so proud of
actually
myself.
So Fallout 76. Well, it's funny because one of the things that they called out in this article, then this article like interviews a bunch of QA testers as well as actual like designers and other
Which is good.
dev roles. They got the full spectrum of the departments, but it starts with a significant portion of it is dedicated to the QA working conditions, to the point where people were working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And people were like upset because they were understandably so brought in on the weekend to put in overtime to crunch to find bugs that were then left unaddressed by the dev team, because QA is held to the standard that sometimes dev is not. I mean, I'm not going to discredit dev work because they often also have to put in an insane amount of hours. But when you're in QA and you're asked to work weekend days to find bugs, and then those bugs are left unaddressed in the next
It's a slap in the face. It's like, hey, do your job and everyone else's job, and we're just not.
like, why did you bring me in? And I'm paraphrasing for one of the devs who spoke out, but like, why did you bring me in to work on the weekend when the next build that we're testing still has this bug in it that I found and called out? You did not fix this. There's no point in testing this again because it still has all of the same issues.
It's because every time they try to fix one issue, they introduce 3 more issues. Everyone thinks engineers are so perfect. They're not. They bug shit all the time. And like QA's job is to reverse engineer their code so that they can find the bug. And then we find the bugs and they try to fix this specific bug, but guess what? Now it makes this map crash. Or now it does this. Now it like rewrote a bunch of data. Like there's just like there's endless possibilities of like, and that's why we do QA. QA does risk analysis where they say, okay, do I even bug this issue? Because if I bug this issue, 9 times out of 10 they always bug it. There's times where it will come back, won't fix, because the fix to fix this bug is going to introduce like 6 more, and they're higher risk. And it's like places that people are going to spend less money on the game or something. Yep. And that's why you're seeing like these bugs slip through, because guess what? This fucking custom like $80 pack is missing something or something.
And yeah. what I hate about it is it creates this environment where it's us versus them. It's like QA versus dev. It's like, hey, we tested it, like we fixed it. Well, you broke it more. And it's like, I hate it because we're punching vertical at each other when really we should be working in tandem. Up. We should be frustrated.
In a perfect world, like QA would be involved as early as they can in the software development lifecycle. That way they can think of these use cases. They can think of these like scenarios where they know fixing something or introducing something is going to break a bunch of other systems. Like they should be working in tandem, not against each other.
Horizontal, not vertical. My bad. I always do that. I forget what horizontal and vertical is. But the like at the end of the day, the real enemy here is upper management. It's the executive producers and capitalism. But it's the deadlines, right? It's the fact that like Fallout 76 had to hit the beta release deadline. They didn't have enough time to design and fix everything. And also, I mean, it's a very long article. They dive into a lot, but because the devs also had an impossible task. Like Fallout 76 actually led to the departure of like 20-year vets, like Bethesda's most senior staff that had been on since Skyrim, the previous Elder Scrolls, like the early Fallout games. This was like apparently just like a death pit, like void fucking like if you got sucked into the development of Fallout 76, you probably quit because it just didn't have like top leadership. Howard, what is his role? What is Howard's role at Bethesda?
I'm not specifically sure, actually.
Can I try a metaphor here for how this went down?
Yes.
So if this is right. Okay. So in my metaphor, we're gonna say that like let's say Fallout was like maybe a bill that was in Congress, okay? And like QA would be the people responding to the bill, right? All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could say that dev might have been like we're gonna have to come up with a Congress person, someone who's like, kind of in the upper echelons, who might like sort of reflect someone who like sees the issues but then like encourages everyone to just like move past it. Maybe let's raise some funds to make it all work. How about like Nancy Pelosi, for example?
Oh my god.
Why?
And then,
okay, every time someone mentions Nancy Pelosi, I'm going
Mitch McConnell. I'm sorry, Mitch McConnell. We'll just pretend it's Mitch
I don't
McConnell.
have anything to do, actually, sadly.
Throw up.
Can't make a game out of it, sorry.
Oh my god.
Also.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Also, I wanted to say, like, I am in the firm belief that QA is dev. Like, QA absolutely is software development, even though they don't design the systems or build the systems. They absolutely reverse engineer the systems and make sure that everything is as polished as it can be for the consumer. So I always argue that QA is dev, and I always say, like, just go by departments: dev, engineering, design. Everybody literally that works on a game. Like, if a game cannot ship without your work, you are a developer. It's just hands down. For me, anyway. And I know that's like maybe a hot take. I don't know if everyone kind of ascribes to the same idea. It's just, to me, QA absolutely is dev, because their work is their work is going to determine if your product is good or not.
Agreed.
So in my metaphor, this would be like a QAOC type situation, if you will.
Yeah.
In your metaphor, dies.
Are the I'm sorry. Yeah, but no, seriously, like if you're doing like that level of work and it like required to make the game ship, like that makes a lot of sense, right? Like I still can't believe what were you calling yourself on Twitter like 3 months ago?
Chair?
Oh yeah, you're a chair. That's right.
Yeah, that was a meme because like somebody on Twitter was like, if you call QA dev, then you have to call everybody that works. So like, what about the chairs? And it's like, okay, I'll call myself a chair then. I'm a chair.
And this game was also plagued by the issue that I think some of the blanking on the name, BioShock games were plagued by, where you had someone who was at the very top who was making these executive decisions that was impacting development and kind of keeping it in development hell. So Todd Howard, thank you Bachel for googling him. He's the director of Bethesda. Like he's basically the top guy at Bethesda. He would just come into these meetings where people like where the designers had settled on core mechanics and shit all over the mechanics and be like, no, we're gonna do it this way.
I hate guys
and for
like
the
that.
most part was like an absent dad who was too busy working on Starfield to really give 76 the time that it needed, even though he was supposed to be the executive producer, like the lead creative lead on Fallout 76. He was off working on his side project at the time, which I'm sorry. Based on the recent trailer, what's that?
Did Starfield happen? What is
Starfield recently? I mean, that's another game that's been in development hell for a minute, and they released.
I wonder why.
They released some footage recently at the Summer Games Fest. Yeah, it looks in rough shape. I'm not gonna lie. It does not look. I mean,
you bite your fucking tongue,
bro. No, Mike. It does not look in good shape. It was laggy. It was like very clearly like a pre-alpha build. It's not for the amount of. I don't know why they showed it. Like it's fine if that's the state of the game that it's in right now, but don't show it. Don't show it if it's in that unpolished state.
To play Star Citizen, it's fine.
It'll probably be a good game when it launches, and I'm excited to see like an open world space game on that scale. Hopefully, if the planets are populated and there's actually stuff to do. But I don't know why they showed it. It seemed like it was one of those things where it was like, guys, we need a playable build. We got to show people. We got to get it out. And the devs were like, okay, we'll divert resources from actually like polishing this game and try to get you a playable vertical
9
slice.
times out of 10 what happens, because then do we hire more staff or do we just use our staff that we're already paying for comes up, and then they don't realize that like taking resources from one project just hurts both projects. And they always learn this the hard way.
And like, so here's my question about that. Like, just and like maybe I don't know if you'll be able to provide an answer or whatever. But like, so when something like that happens, like you like currently come up with like a playable demo that like for a game that's not ready to be a playable demo. Do the developers then like tend to take that demo and try to run with it and like make it part of their workload, or do they just like scrap it?
So usually what happens is like a bunch of gamer tech bros get into a room with shareholders and say, hi, I have this pitch. We're going to make a game. And then the shareholders are like, here's a bunch of money to make said game. And then if they don't start seeing return on their investment right away, they start pressuring. And then if there's like issues that arise from development, they're just like, well, whatever, make it happen anyway. Like, it's weird. It's like tech is like, just figure it out. Because like all they want to do is appease the shareholders. Like that really is their goal, is because they want this return on their investment, right? And then they end up just making like enough money back because they sold pre-orders and or I don't know, whatever they decide. It's weird. Like I hate the way like development is sometimes, because it's like you're either appeasing to the shareholders the whole time and staying to deadlines, or you're working with your team and you're making a really great game and you're like making sure you're listening to paid professionals that you hired to make this game. Right? So it's frustrating.
Yep, and usually the stuff that they'll release at things like conferences like E3, the Summer Games Fest, the demos or vertical slices that we call it, they're supposed to represent, be a small little slice that represents the final proof of concept.
So what they do is they take, sorry, I like didn't finish explaining, but like what they do is they all get in a room, the shareholders say, okay, great, make me a proof of concept so that I can greenlight it and give you the rest of the money or whatever for the funding. So like your job as an indie developer is to secure funding. Usually as a AAA studio, your job is to like allocate the money that you've made from other projects into a new project, right? Or like figure ways to build upon that project to make more money. But as an indie developer, or even a developer that doesn't have a lot of products, that doesn't make them a lot of money, your job is to secure the funding. So once you secure the funding, you're in debit to the shareholders stakeholders that have a stake in freaking the development of your game. It's the people that are paying your work salary. But yeah, then you have to deliver a proof of concept build to the shareholders, and then the shareholders can usually give you a million opinions that have nothing to do with how a game runs or operates. Or they say, okay, finish making it. And that really is it. And with Bobby and Call of Duty, all you had to do is every year be like, hey, guess what? I'm making a new Call of Duty. And they're like, here's $1 million.
And in terms of like order of processes, the right way to do it is like the vertical slice should be created that has all of the base game mechanics to show like, hey, this game is fun. This is like what it feels like what it should feel like to play like the full game.
Right.
But what usually ends up and then you build the full game based on that vertical slice. But what ends up happening is a game will be in development for 5 years. Again, like Jess said, the executives are like, gotta see something. We're not happy about this. We gotta market this. We need to show the people. And instead of like taking the time to build a good vertical slice that represents the game and is properly integrated in the game, they peel off part of the development staff. And they're like, all right, you make the vertical slice while they keep developing the game. And they're these two disjointed products. And that's when you end up with stuff that like people are like, oh, why doesn't like a game releases and it's like, why doesn't it look like the thing that we saw at E3? And it's like, well, that was a pre-rendered CGI little thing that
was a proof of concept. It's what we told the shareholders we were going to come up with. And then
wait, I don't understand.
Pay people enough to make it.
I thought capitalism was supposed to be more efficient.
No, capitalism is not efficient. Trickle down economics is a sham. Ronald Reagan was the devil. Nancy Pelosi. What else?
Well, you're right. That is the story of Halo 2. That is exactly what happened with Halo 2 at E3. Nancy Pelosi released the
Nancy Pelosi,
infamously known as the Nancy Pelosi Halo 2 spoof, where they released a pre-rendered trail. They basically had the dev team create this whole vertical slice that was not in the release game at all. People were like, "What? Where was this whole level?" And it was like, "Yeah, that level didn't run on an Xbox. We built that on a PC, and we were not able to get it to run on an Xbox, and it doesn't represent the game at all." So that's an infamous story. One of my professors in college, he was the director of our game art department, and he actually worked on Halo 2, as well as fun fact was the mocap for Master Chief. So he was like the Master Chief that you see walking around.
Oh my God, he was Master Chief's stunt double? That's insane.
Yeah, he was Master Chief's. Cool. What was his name?
We gotta get him on the show.
He would love that, dude. He's very pro like worker rights. We could probably get him. I'm not gonna lie. His name is Nate Walpole. He works at Champlain College. Yeah, fuck it. I don't know why I haven't reached out to Nate. I should do that.
Am I gonna get no thank yous for my amazing piece of art requested by Jess?
I was just gonna say I love it. I feel like Nancy's directly judging all of my tattoos right now, and it's kind of great.
Nancy,
thank you.
She's like the type of person that like if I was walking on the sidewalk across from her, she would be staring at me the entire time, and then we'd walk past each other and she'd just do that. Like, who's this lady?
We got through almost half of our topics today. But as we've hit our 3 p.m. and my sister's in town, and
I don't have us ready.
I wanna
wait. I want to talk about one thing before we go. Absolutely. So speaking of horrible fucking games, can we get that game up on the screen, please?
Oh, the Kyle Rittenhouse. Are we going?
The Kyle Rittenhouse game.
Speaking of shitty fucking Republicans.
Speaking of horrible Republicans, Nancy Pelosi, derogatory, and a bunch of other things that we're talking about on the show today, can I just say, Kyle Rittenhouse is get fucked, one. 2, actively profiting off of murdering people, can I also just say, because like so these games are like, the concept 1 is stupid because you're just shooting turkeys that say fake news on them and they're all bug-eyed.
I can't take
it's today's equivalent of like a Flash game that you would see on Newgrounds or like Funny Junk.
It's the equivalent of O.J. Simpson writing the book, "If I murdered her, this is what I would do." Like, it's literally like rubbing it in our faces.
What a stupid game concept. And can I say, like, this concept looks exactly like all of the NFT games that people are pronouncing, or like trying to say, like, crypto, invest in crypto, we're going to make games. And like, it always looks like this. It always ends up looking like this. It's because people don't know how to freaking game. All right. Look at it.
It's so dumb.
Look at it. Just look at it.
You know there's like some like closeted like
Oh, God.
Republican game dev that reached out to him and was like, "Hey, I have this game idea. Let's profit off of your like horrible fucking shitty murder." And they
Yeah.
partnered up and made this. Like it's
Literally
fucking disgusting. Just the way the Republicans drag him through
Like he cried in court.
Yep.
Cried in court, but doesn't give a shit anymore.
Jess, I feel like your thought just died in the pits of.
No, he started playing I didn't even see the gameplay. He started playing. What is this?
This is.
But guys, the Republicans told us the video games are responsible for the gun violence.
Why would they do this? I would rather them make a game where the protagonist is like a guy trying to get laid on Twitter, and you just have to take pictures of fish. Like,
oh shit, guys, it's Nerf or it's nothing, baby. Let's go.
Dude, can we just not like?
We can.
What is he doing the slot like?
Guys, we can make this game lore accurate. We just need to relabel the fake news with Fox News, and bam, we've got a pretty good game on our hands.
Rittenhouse game.
Or all the turkeys are just the people he actually killed, and then it's.
Oh god, Mike, no, no.
He killed 2 people.
Yeah, I don't know.
People, and then he went to a bar wearing a shirt that said "free as fuck," and then he cried in the courthouse when they made him talk about how he killed those 2 people, and now he's making a game about shooting.
I hope he has nightmares. I hope he gets no sleep. I hope he has nightmares every fucking time he closes his eyes. I hope he sees.
Yeah, it literally looks like a worse version of Alien Invasion game where they like shoot at the. Like it's like not even as good as Duck Hunt. Like. At least make something good. I mean, but like obviously,
no, like it's like
Josh,
literally.
You know what I hope he gets known. He gets no. I hope he gets no bitches. All right, I just hope he gets no bitches. Okay?
I appreciate this, Mike. This is why I pay you. To be honest,
I'm getting paid.
In friendship.
When those those subscribers are coming in, like, don't you worry. You're getting paid one day, Mike.
None of us get paid on the show. We do this because we like you. Donate to our campaign to save democracy today. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. We don't have a campaign. Our campaign is just unionize your workplace. That's all. I think you don't
for next week, I'll get something going for Planned Parenthood or some organization. Can I also just say, like
Kyle Rittenhouse, like this would be like when I saw this trending that he was making a game. It was like the equivalent of like convicted rapist Brock Turner making a game where you have to like pick up chicks.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Seriously though. Seriously, like that's exactly
could you imagine? But like, anyway, I hope the game fails.
I mean,
I just that's like the nicest thing I can say. I hope the game fails.
There's nothing nice to say, honestly.
Streamers don't like you. Stay out of my community, Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, it's look, it's been a tough week. I hope that going into this week there's something positive to lift us all up. We got the 4th of July to look forward to. Jess, I hope I see you at our 4th of July on July 2nd.
Yeah. So
barbecue.
Josh and I are having like Josh is having a pre 4th of July barbecue thing. But I'm just gonna go and talk about how Ronald Reagan's the devil in front of everybody. So hopefully they welcome me in their community. We'll see. Mike's gonna be there too. Mike, you wanna?
I think you'll get along with everyone. There's there'll be a lot of game devs there, or people that work in the game adjacent industry.
They're gonna be like, oh, I know about her.
Sorry. When you said that, I was just imagining a bunch of chairs sitting around a barbecue grill.
Oh my god, it's the Council of Game Devs. I have to go and prove this.
We'll have a lot of empty chairs.
Yeah.
And it's actually this is the poster for it. I don't know if you can see it, but it says the US of Gay.
Oh, I love it.
A little higher.
I love it. Also, hi, my culture is not your costume.
To be fair,
I know
it's a gay person made this poster.
Nice. I mean, I never really celebrated the 4th, like celebrated. I just watched fireworks shows, but I mean, we can all collectively, maybe we can use the 4th as like a moment of silence for like what we thought was freedom and democracy.
Yeah.
Talk about how we're going to organize local circles and Mike, can we get that picture back up? The one that's like idle right now. Can we just get it back up on the screen for everyone? No bitches. No bitches.
I'm just trying. I'm just trying to organize some burgers in my stomach. Okay, that's all I'm trying to organize.
Yeah, that's what we'll do on Saturday. We'll get some burgers. We'll talk about
I'm
how
gonna
we're
get all
going
the money
to...
due to me in the form of burgers that Josh paid for. That's
you can drink as much beer as you want, have as many burgers as you want, Mike.
drink.
Well, you look.
You smoked the weed?
You could have as much seltzer as you want, Mike. You're not vegan, are you, Mike?
I just said I'm gonna load up on hamburgers.
All right. Well, I mean, we're gonna have vegan hamburgers, so that doesn't answer my question.
Oh, I'm a meatitarian, and I made
Oh
that
my god, I
up
had
before
a
Wendy's did.
tofurkey one year. Do not recommend.
Can
I
you
actually
do
like
me a
the
favor?
tofu, but
Yeah, we can ship you some burgers, Ellie, if that's what you're.
Yeah, no. I need you guys to get a birthday cake and sing happy birthday to me. Just
Is that your birthday?
It is my birthday. I won't be there though. But you can make it my
absolutely.
birthday party instead of Independence Day. That way we can talk about the real issues, which is that I am becoming way too old. I'm so done.
I just turned 30. I feel it. I'm old.
30 is the thing, but oh my god.
30 to white conservative Christian men is 65 because they only date 14-year-olds. So I'm actually an old woman. I'm a geriatric.
You've actually escaped their views.
I know.
Congratulations.
So something that's super sad is I realized oh, it's kind of cool I don't get catcalled anymore now that I'm older. But then I remembered I was getting catcalled when I was 13 years old. So when you think about it, you're oh, I was getting catcalled at this age, but now that I'm older and can say, well, I can say no, I might get murdered if I do. But people are less likely. They're oh, women with opinions. They used to.
I actually had the worst. I was on a political panel show. And there was a panelist who was suggesting that catcalling is neutral to bad, not just bad, because some people like being catcalled as a confidence boost, and that justified the idea that
because
I didn't agree.
Obviously. Consent.
Yeah.
Consent.
It makes most people very uncomfortable. Very.
No kidding.
It's
no kidding. I mean, it was a really shitty debate panel.
Yeah, I believe that.
that's
that's a real.
Help me. I think from your circle, I've heard of some crazy debates and people that actually platform actual Nazis. So can I just say, don't platform Nazis. Normalize curb stomping Nazis in Minecraft. Only do violence when it is in self-defense, like the old Kyle Rittenhouse argument. You're allowed to defend yourself. All right, if a Nazi
and that's the T-Mobile's roast of the stream.
And with that,
yes, what's actual roast is the Supreme Court.
Sponsored by T-Mobile.
Wait,
and
really though? Do we want T-Mobile
for America?
Oh, we don't want to talk about G Fuel right now. That's not. We don't want to talk about.
No, there actually is a controversy with G. Okay, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I
know.
So
G Fuel on this fire. I don't know.
Are we doing it?
That has been
the show.
Your daily, not daily dose. We don't do this every day. Weekly dose.
If we did this every day, we would be dead because it takes a lot to educate the masses about why everything in this world is so horrible right now and how we can fix it. So thanks for coming here because we don't even know either, but we're trying to figure it out together. So thanks
well, Mike Duncan did say organize and do the protesting.
Okay.
So those are important things.
Mike Duncan is Ali's Hassan. I'm just saying it right now.
It's actually true. I'm not ashamedly gonna say that.
Mike's dunking on him.
Yeah, let's dunk on he's gonna dunk on the reactionaries and the fascists that
dunk the patriarchy.
America and no, I mean it's true. So
check out this cool BattleNet fidget spinner that I got from working on BattleNet at Blizzard.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Makes all the OT worth it.
Yeah, it's people got sexually harassed on the BattleNet team, but I have a fidget spinner.
Well, they gave you means for self-defense. That's like a fucking shuriken right there. You just whip it at them. Bam.
I've been fidgeting with this.
See, they gave us the weapons. Hello, we should have just done it ourselves.
Thanks, Splendor Goat, for tuning in and sticking around. I'm glad you enjoyed the stream.
Yeah.
Thank you for all our bits that donated earlier that you guys didn't call out.
And thank you for the 100 bits. I actually didn't see that.
Thank you for the bits. Thanks for the subs.
Appreciate it.
The biscuit was delicious.
Thank you for all the first-time viewers. Thank you for all the returning viewers. As always, this has been the weekly stand-up. You have all been great, and I'm sorry shit sucks right now.
Stand up for yourself and others.
Also, I want to thank all the folks who helped me. Oh my god, a Naruto shuriken.
That's amazing. That's actually
Naruto fidget. That's
Wait,
like
wait.
So we're gonna raid into someone who helped us advertise today. Lexi Bet. She mods for Gremblo, who is someone else I love to talk to about things and stuff. But she's having a conversation right now.
Yay.
Let's do this thing.
Do it.
So, oh no, I'm sorry. I used the wrong pronouns. I apologize. He, him.
Oh, he, him.
I apologize.
Thank you for rectifying that. Because a lot of people just try to ignore it. But I appreciate you correcting. Always correct yourself. It's okay to mess up as long as you learn from your mistake. Remember that. If you take anything from the show, take that. And also
organize.
Fuck Bobby Kotick.
Yeah, that too. All right. Anyway, thank you so much for everybody tuning in, and we will see you on the next weekly stand-up.
Next weekly stand-up, Sunday, 1 p.m. We'll see you there.
Yeah, I pushed the button.
Be there, be square. We did it.
All right.
Yeah, long stream today.